Oh dear, testing 1.
Testing 2.
Testing 3.
Welcome to the Testing Podcast.
Yeah, a bonus episode. So this is going to be a bonus episode. And we're talking pots.
Pots. Important
Pots.
things.
So we've got 2 pots on the table.
Yeah.
And this has come about from the support group, the Testing Together support group we've been running.
Yeah.
We had a chap, and there was a very serious element to this part of the conversation, actually, that he was saying, actually, he's really struggled in giving a sample and going into the masturbatorium, getting it up and producing a sample. And we actually sort of coached and supported him through that, the psychological element of it, and actually maybe getting some counselling and some psychosexual support and what have you. But then it kind of led us to the conversation of, well, do you ever get to practice? Do you ever
No.
Because the first time you do it could be the first time you're either getting a semen analysis or it's an egg collection day. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, that's quite a thing to do, isn't it?
It's a challenge, isn't it? Going into, a masturbatorium for the first time, not knowing what to expect, what to do, where to do it, and you know roughly what you should be doing, but nobody really prepares you for it, do they?
We don't talk about it, do we? It's
No,
a bit daunting.
No, we don't talk about it.
Well, we do in the support group, we have done, but publicly, it's not something that's mentioned, is it?
No, and there's the conception, the idea that it's easy. And there's obviously the documentary, The Easy Bit, this idea that guys just go off, we can get it up at any time, we're happy to have a wank at any time, and doing it into pots really easy. Mm-hmm. I mean...
Far from the truth.
Yeah. You guys have both been there and done it,
in a clinic.
In a clinic. Yeah. For good reason.
For good reasons, yeah.
And it's an unusual experience, to say the least.
It's daunting, and I remember the first time I did it, I could not produce a sample at all. I had to sort of literally, calm myself down, actually go to the hatch and say, sorry, I can't produce a sample, and then really just think about coming in 2 days later to actually produce a sample, because I was so nervous that it really had a big problem.
Yeah. What about you, Toby?
I cried on my egg collection.
Wow.
I was sat there in bits. I was distraught at the fact that I was sat there with a pot and my face was on it, and I unscrewed the lid and thought, fucking hell, this is it.
This is what my life has become.
I had this idea that Katie and I would have a night of romance and a conception that way, but here we are with a pot, and it was it's a horrible experience, a really harrowing experience. And I was very emotional. I was I sat there and shed a tear and just contemplated what and why I was there in the first place.
What life had become.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's just the stress that's the build-up, isn't it? It's just oh crikey, when you get presented a pot, and you go okay, and you got instructions to write your name and your date of birth and the time of collection and everything else. You go
this formula.
Hold on a minute. Whoa.
Yeah.
what do I need to do again?
Yeah.
So you're focusing on all the wrong things, aren't you? Really. So it's not a sexy thing to do.
There was a clock in the room where I was at, and I remember being told that Kate will be out in 15 minutes. That's one time pressure that you got, and you think, geez. Yeah. Oh, and here's the magazines, and here's the pot. Crack on, basically. So it's not pleasant. But what we're doing here today, because we've got
some pots.
Tell us more, Ian.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we had this conversation on the support group, and we came up with this idea. It's well, actually, wouldn't it be quite good, before you have to do it for the first ever time, because you're going to go to a clinic or I don't know if you probably don't do it at GP, do it at a hospital. You might just be stuffed into a disabled toilet or a toilet at the end of a corridor. It's not always a nice setting. Certainly we know some of the clinics are up in their game in terms of the rooms that they have available for men. Mm-hmm. But you're going to go in, you're going to be given a pot, you've got to crack one off and try and shoot it into the pot. It's well, rather than that being the first time you do it, wouldn't it be great to have a little go at home? I mean, we all do it at home, but we don't do it into a pot, do we? So we came up with the idea of giving out some pots, some practice pots. Practice pot. And we decided to give it a shot. Give it a shot pot. Pot shots.
However you want to put it.
Yeah. We then came up with the idea. Well, not came up with the idea. It's okay, a pot shot. It kind of implies that you might take a photo of it, a bit like a dick pic. And it's
it all went in the wrong direction.
I wasn't on the group this night. This sounds like I missed a wild night.
You did.
Yeah. It's oh my God, no, we don't want photos of your pots and the shots in your pots or pot shots, but actually, we're why don't we just dish out some free pots for guys just to have a go? If you've never done it before, if you've got a semen analysis coming up, just have a practice at home. because it can be really, really daunting.
Yeah, so at least when you then have to do it in anger, is that, I don't know if that's the right way, but for the real event, maybe in a setting that you're really unfamiliar with, at least you kind of go, well, I kind of know what I'm doing, and it's not fingers and thumbs. And
because it's not necessarily as easy as you think, and we need to dispel some myths about the pots as well. We've got two on the table here, because this pot here. So these are the initial ones that we're going to be giving out. If you're watching the video, great, you can watch it. If not, this one's an oval shaped pot. With a little lid, you pull a tab off and then you can take the lid off. But this pot is a fairly standard size pot. I know you guys sort of said you had round ones that were a little bit smaller, but this pot will take 125 milliliters of fluid, right?
That's amazing.
We don't produce that much.
Yeah.
Right. The average semen, like the volume that most men would produce, is 1.5 to 5 mil. 5 mil would be a pretty big sample. You've probably stored it up for way too long. 1.5 mil would be the lower end. So let's say you're just below the lower end at 1.25 mil. You're only filling 1% of that pot.
Yeah.
Or is it 10%? No, it's 1% of the pot, isn't it?
Yeah. And it might not even fill the whole bottom of it.
No, it won't fill the bottom. These ones have actually got lines on the bottom. So I don't know if you guys saw this.
Yeah.
So it's got a little line that marks a 2.5 mil, and it's got a line that marks a 5 mil. So you're barely going to cover the bottom of the pot. But guys, for the first time ever, they get given a pot. It's 125 mil. Like, oh shit!
How many times do you hear people say, "Is that it?"
Yeah.
And then the anxiety of, was it enough?
Yeah. So you'd have to ejaculate 100 times into this pot to fill it.
You'd be there all week.
A week? Jesus. How many is that a day? That's a lot. That's more than 10 a day. Jesus. Even at 16 I can do
marathon. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
We're not setting a challenge, by the way, guys.
No. But isn't that mental? Like, you know, the psychological barrier or psychological fear that a guy's going to have when he gets a pot this size. Like,
for the first time.
For the first time, he's never seen one
like,
before.
oh my goodness, what am I supposed to do with that?
But this is a really important conversation, because obviously they've got to be of a size so that you can aim into it. They can't be too small. But it's really important, because the anxiety of, like, is that enough?
Yeah.
Kind of is like why guys feel anxious about it, isn't it? It's
So it'd be a good opportunity for a guy to say, okay, well, have a go. Make sure I know how to get it in there. We'll come on to that in a minute, I think. Where does my ejaculate come up to? You know, if you can use this as a kind of rough gauge, actually. You know, if you're getting up to 2.5 mil, you're okay. You know, if it hasn't got a lower limit, but, you know, if it's a very, very, very little amount, then you might want to question that. But give it a shot.
Yeah,
give it a shot.
That's all it's all about. But so I'm going to be incredibly open in sharing, because that's what we do, and we're about breaking stigmas. I had a go because I've never done it. I've not been through fertility treatment.
Not been there in anger, have you?
I had 30, 40 of these in my hallway at home. I was like, well, actually, I'm going to keep one for myself and give it a shot. And you know what? I was actually quite surprised that I kind of cocked it up.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know the game. You know, I'm pretty experienced at masturbating, so I had no problems with that bit.
And fertility coaching.
And fertility coaching. Yeah. But actually, I'm the first part of my ejaculate missed the pot.
There you go.
It went over the edge and down the side. I was like, oh.
Yep. and that's the first bit's the important bit.
It's the absolute important bit, and you'll get that on your form. Did you miss any of the pot? Did the full ejaculate go in? And the reason is because that's where the most concentrated sperm is.
Yeah.
And I was quite surprised. I was like, oh, fuck it, I got it wrong. And it's like, so isn't it better to do that?
How easy is it to get it wrong then? You know, you're knowledgeable about, you know, what the pots are all there for, and you know, the volume and various other things. But, you know, to get it not right the first time, that must happen all the time in clinics.
Yeah. So I almost got to that point once where it was on a semen analysis in clinic, and I got close to the point, and I was like, shit, I ain't unscrewed the pot.
Oh, really? Yeah, take the lid off. Yeah, we've heard that before, haven't we?
Yeah. It's like, oh my God, like it seems so basic, but actually,
that's nerves though, isn't it? It's just not expecting to know what to do, and you know, you're given a pot, and I think that's just the problem is, you know, it's common knowledge now that you've done it, but the first time you ever do it, it's always going to be like, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm going to do, and the stress.
But you're anxious about so many things, aren't you? Because you're not just, I mean, doing that is one thing, but you're anxious about, I mean, you can normally hear people in the corridor, the room's not particularly pleasant. You're anxious about, weirdly, about time. There's so many like elements that suddenly then what seems like quite a basic task of filling a pot is like, it's kind of like, your brain goes to mush, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you've got to get
It's
aroused, haven't you? You know, you've got to get an erection, and it's like
you have
you
to
can't
do what you got to do
just
to
turn
get
it
that
on. It's like, oh, okay, right. I'm thinking, right, there it is.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of
And you've
it's-
only got two hands.
yeah. If you need to scroll through the internet or you need to flick through a magazine,
Yeah.
and so you got to hold a pot, a magazine, or your phone, or
So it's all about being prepared, isn't it? So
Yeah.
this is all about preparing the pot.
Yeah, when you
for your
guys
pot shop.
when you guys came to this campaign, I did chuckle and thought, bloody hell, what are you up to? But actually, this makes a lot of sense. This
when
is
you
really
talk about,
cool.
I've told a few people about
Yeah.
that. Oh my god, that's such a good idea.
And do you know what? I think, if it becomes, something that people give us feedback on and that it's been really useful, it could drive a national campaign
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
pot shop
wouldn't that-
campaign in clinics so
Yeah.
that we can actually improve, the actual outcomes of semen analysis when patients first go into a clinic for the very first time.
Yeah, it's just breaking that stigma again as well, isn't it? It's like kind of
That's what we're here to do,
Yeah.
aren't we? Right?
Yeah. And I think actually it'd be quite good, because I don't know what it's like for you guys, but some couples are a bit like, the guy won't masturbate in front of his partner, and it's all a bit kind of behind closed doors or whatever. It depends on your relationship, how those things are. But actually, maybe it'd be quite good for a woman to see. This is what you have to try and work out as a guy. I mean, they'll probably joke about it and take the mick a bit, and it's like, you've got the easy bit, but actually, kind of for her to see it,
Yeah, because for all they know, we go in that room and lock the door and
have a great time.
wow, not a great time.
Well,
Wasn't a
that's
great
the perception.
time. But like they that's all they are aware of, aren't they? And
Yeah.
I remember Katie saying to me like
What's the
she
big
almost said
deal?
like, what was it like? And I was like, it's bloody horrible.
Yeah.
But they have the unknown, like we have the unknown with them and certain things, isn't it? But yeah, I think this is a great idea. And now ultimately, let's start this conversation, right? Let's end the stigma of doing this kind of thing, because it is a little bit embarrassing, but there's nothing to be embarrassed about. And the team of people that are in the clinic that are chaperoning you into the room and explaining it, they've been there and done that many a times,
Hundreds of times.
Yeah. So don't be embarrassed in front of those people, and we all care, right? So this is all about getting the best outcome for blokes.
Yeah, I mean, once you've done your bit into your pot, don't go wandering off and giving it to people or putting it through a hatch.
No.
Please dispose of it sensibly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I think it's a great little campaign. We've had fun thinking about it, and we've got the pots. And if it goes down well, we'll order some more pots. There's, we're not going to charge for them, or we're going to charge a nominal amount for them. Really, you just need to cover your postage. So they're going to be on the Testim store.
Yeah,
Go and order yourself give it a shot pot. I think that's what I'm going to title it as.
give it a shot, pot.
And give it a shot, give it a trial, and see how it goes.
And these have been kindly donated, haven't they, to us?
Thank you. Yes, they have. I must shout out to Sussex Sperm Bank, who's given us a box of these and said, "Yeah, go for it. We'll support this. It's a really good campaign." So,
Yeah, really kind of them, isn't it, to do that?
Yeah.
And they're right behind us with it. But the link will be in the show notes below. Give it a shot.
Yeah, give it a shot. Shot pot 1.
Shot pot 2.
Shot pot 3.
There we go. Thank you, guys. We'll see you later.
See you soon, boys.
Bye.